Tired of the negativity? Looking for a shot of optimism? Well, I have an inspiring story to make you smile right after this. This episode of Misfits and Crackpots is brought to you by the Well-Crafted Story Workshop. Struggling to connect with your audience and attract new clients? Transform your speaking skills at the Well-Crafted Story Workshop with Coach Jimmy Hayes Nelson and yours truly, Dr. Danny Brissell. In just 2 days, master the art of crafting compelling speeches that convert listeners into clients. Whether in-person or virtual, you'll get personalized attention in an intimate group, learning not just from expert coaches, but from fellow entrepreneurs. Don't let another opportunity slip away. Get your free story blueprint today at wellcraftedstoryworkshop.com and turn your story into your most powerful business tool. Your success starts here. Visit wellcraftedstoryworkshop.com now. You're just a well-crafted story away from 7 figures. Hello there, my friend, and welcome to Misfits and Crackpots, short, inspiring stories for busy people. I'm Dr. Danny Brissell. This is a podcast for those interested in extraordinary stories about ordinary people and companies. Consider it your dose of positivity and inspiration for the week. Mike Tyson said, "Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face." This week's success strategy: never give up. She once said, "I never met a straight line I did not like." Ironically, her path in life followed anything but a straight line. Carmen Herrera is not exactly a household name. She should be. Her story is one filled with love, passion, and most impressively, perseverance. It's a tale that spans over a century, crossing continents, weathering revolutions, and ultimately triumphing over decades of obscurity. Carmen Herrera's life is a testament to the power of unwavering dedication to one's craft, even in the face of overwhelming indifference. Born in Havana in 1915 to journalist parents, she was one of 7 siblings. Despite her humble beginnings, she was an ambitious young lady who developed an early passion for art. Encouraged by her father and aunt, she attended the Academia de San Alejandro, a prominent Cuban art school, where she honed her skills as a painter. The Cuba of Carmen's youth was a place of stark contrast. On one hand, it was a vibrant cultural hub, pulsing with the rhythms of sun and rumba. On the other, it was a nation grappling with political turmoil and social unrest. This dichotomy would come to influence Carmen's artistic sensibilities, instilling in her a deep appreciation for both vibrant energy and austere minimalism. But Cuba was no place for painters, as it was governed at the time by despised dictator Gerardo Machado. The oppressive political climate stifled creative expression, pushing many artists and intellectuals to seek opportunities abroad. So, as a teenager, Carmen left for Paris to attend finishing school. In the late 1930s, 2 events changed Carmen's life forever. Initially studying architecture at the Universidad de La Habana, she found the political climate suffocating as the university was often closed because of uprisings. But her time there was not wasted. "There, an extraordinary world opened up to me that never closed," she later said. "The world of straight lines, which has interested me until this very day." This discovery would prove to be the cornerstone of Carmen's artistic philosophy. The clean, precise nature of architectural drawings resonated deeply with her aesthetic sensibilities. While her peers were exploring the fluid, organic forms popularized by the surrealist and abstract expressionist, Carmen found herself drawn to the stark beauty of geometry. It was also during this tumultuous time when she fell in love with Jesse Lowenthal, an American English teacher whom she married. Their union would prove to be both a personal and professional partnership, with Jesse providing unwavering support for Carmen's artistic pursuits throughout their lives together. The young couple moved to New York City, a decision that would shape the trajectory of Carmen's artistic career. In 1943, she earned a scholarship to attend the prestigious Art Students League, where she studied under the tutelage of acclaimed painter John Corbino. This formal training helped refine her technical skills, but it was the vibrant energy of New York's art scene that truly ignited her creativity. New York in the 1940s was experiencing a seismic shift in the art world. Abstract expressionism was on the rise, with artists like Jackson Pollock and Willem de Kooning pushing the boundaries of what was considered art. Carmen, however, found herself drawn to a different path, one of geometric abstraction and minimalism. Despite her training and undeniable talent, Carmen faced an uphill battle in gaining recognition. As a Cuban woman in the male-dominated New York art scene, she struggled to have her pieces featured in museum exhibitions. The art world of the time was notoriously insular and often dismissive of female artists, particularly those from non-Western backgrounds. So, Carmen and her husband moved to Paris, where they stayed for nearly 5 years. In post-war Paris, Carmen found herself immersed in a vibrant community of artists and intellectuals. She rubbed shoulders with luminaries like Simone de Beauvoir and Jean-Paul Sartre, absorbing the philosophical and artistic currents of the time. It was during this Parisian sojourn that Carmen developed and refined what critics would later call her hard-edged, non-objective style. During that time, Carmen got to know various artists and writers. She developed and refined what critics called a hard-edged, non-objective style, similar to the work of the far better-known Ellsworth Kelly. While Kelly would go on to achieve fame and recognition, however, Carmen's work remained largely overlooked. Homesickness and a desire to reconnect with her roots led Carmen to return briefly to Cuba. She arrived with high hopes, eager to share her artistic evolution with her homeland. Carmen painted a series of abstract works infused with the vibrant colors and energy of the Caribbean, yet still adhering to her beloved straight lines and geometric forms. However, her homecoming was not the triumph she had envisioned. When she held a solo show of her new works, Cuban audiences failed to connect with her art. The abstract minimalist style that had been embraced in Paris was met with confusion and indifference in Havana. This rejection was a bitter pill for Carmen to swallow, but it did not deter her from her painting. Financial difficulties prompted the couple to return to New York, where they would spend the rest of their lives. The New York art scene they returned to was markedly different from the one they had left. Abstract expressionism had given way to pop art and minimalism, yet Carmen found her work still didn't quite fit into any of the prevailing movements. Despite the lack of recognition, Carmen continued to create. She would become friends with fellow artists Barnett Newman, Leon Polk Smith, and Wilfredo Lamb, and her work became more minimalist. She later would describe her artistic process as one of distillation, striving to create art that is increasingly stripped down and pure. This pursuit of simplicity would become her hallmark, resulting in works of breathtaking clarity and power. In essence, her work could be described as ahead of its time. It was challenging for any female artist to achieve success in the mid-20th century, but especially one whose work was so boldly unconventional. "You were supposed to do maternity scenes or watercolors," her friend, artist Tony Baccara later said, "but not something as tough and decisive as what she does." While male artists like her neighbor and close friend Barnett Newman were finding success with their geometric abstractions, Carmen struggled to find an audience. The art world of the time was not ready for a Latina woman creating bold, minimalist works that challenged conventional notions of femininity in Latin American art. But she refused to be discouraged. She kept painting, even though the world ignored her. Years became decades, and then half of a century. Through it all, her husband Jesse provided unwavering support, both emotionally and financially, allowing Carmen to pursue her art without compromise. This dedication to her craft, regardless of external validation, is perhaps the most remarkable aspect of Carmen's story. As the years passed, the art world continued to evolve. Movements came and went, stars rose and fell, but Carmen Herrera remained constant, steadfast in her vision and her work. Her perseverance paid off. Carmen's work first received press attention in 1998, when a small exhibition of her black and white paintings was reviewed in a gallery dedicated to Latin American art in East Harlem. New York Times art critic Holland Cotter described Carmen's style as an abstract art of quietly jazzy linear patterns. This small acknowledgement was just the beginning. As the art world began to reassess its biases and broaden its perspective, Carmen's work started to garner the attention it had long deserved. And in 2004, at the ripe young age of 89, Carmen Herrera sold her first painting. That's when Carmen became an overnight sensation. The recognition, once it came, arrived in a flood. Before her death in 2022 at the age of 106, Carmen would live to see her work featured in a number of prestigious public and private collections, including the Tate Collection in London, England, the National Gallery of Art and Smithsonian American Art Museum in Washington, D.C., and the Museum of Modern Art, Whitney Museum of American Art, Metropolitan Museum of Art, and El Museo del Barrio, all in New York City. Major retrospectives of her work were held at the Whitney Museum of American Art in 2016 and the Lisson Gallery in London in 2019. Art critics and collectors alike marveled at the consistency and power of her vision, maintained over nearly 8 decades of work. Despite being largely ignored throughout her lifetime, Carmen Herrera did not let her success get to her head. Being ignored is a form of freedom, she later said when she was 105. I felt liberated from having to constantly please anyone. See, friend, inspiration is all around us. You just have to look for it. Thanks for listening. Join us next week for another inspiring story about misfits and crackpots. Misfits and Crackpots is a production of Success Media, produced by Terrence Wishner. Sound effects by Alessandro Lucati, courtesy of Pixabay. Thank you for tuning in. If you love today's story, there's so much more to explore in the book Misfits and Crackpots by yours truly, Dr. Danny Brissell. Grab your copy now on Amazon and dive deeper into the extraordinary lives of those who dared to change the world. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share the podcast with fellow misfits who love inspiring stories. See you next time.